Frisby is on her way home bringing her son Timothy some medicine. She began to notice that the sun was late in the sky and worries that she will not be home before nightfall. She is left with a decision to make.
Oh dear, oh dear. If I take the roundabout way home that I had come, I would surely end up walking in the dark.
A frightening prospect, for at night the forest was alive with danger.
The other way is dangerous too. But with luck, it would get me home before dark.
That would be to take the straight route across the farmyard between the barn and the chicken house, not going too close to the house, but cutting the distance home by half. The cat dragon would be there somewhere, but by daylight and staying in the open, away from the shrubs, she could probably spot him before he saw her.
When at length she came abreast of the barn, she saw the cattle wire fence that marked the other end of the pasture, and as she approached it, she was startled by a sudden outburst of noise.
Caw! 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 What is that awful noise? A hen straying from the chicken yard, caught by a fox?
She looked down at the fence and saw that it was no hen at all, but a young crow flapping in the grass, acting most odd.
As she watched, he fluttered to the top of the wire of the fence, flapped hard, and took off, but after flying 4 feet, he stopped with a snap and crashed to the ground again, shedding a folly of black feathers and squawking loudly.
He was tied to a fence. A piece of something silvery, it looked like a wire, was tangled around one of his legs. The other end of it was caught in the fence. Mrs. Frisby walked closer, and then she could see that it was not a wire after all, but a length of silver-colored string, probably left from a Christmas package.
The crow was sitting on the fence, pecking ineffectively at the string with his bill, calling softly to himself, a miserable sound.
Caw! Caw! Caw!
After a moment, he spread his wings, and she could see he was going to try to fly again.
Wait, said Mrs. Frisby. The crow looked down and saw her in the grass.
Why should I wait? Can't you see I'm caught? I've got to get loose. But if you make so much noise, the cat is sure to hear, if he hasn't heard already. You would make noise too if you were tied to a fence with a piece of string and with night coming on. I would not,
Said Mrs. Frisby.
if I had any sense that there was a cat nearby. Would I do?
She was trying to calm the crow, who was obviously terrified.
He looked embarrassed and stared at his feet.
I picked up the string, I got tangled with my foot, I sat on the fence to try to get it off, and it got caught on the fence. Why did you pick up the string?
The crow, who was very young indeed, in fact only a year old, said wearily,
Because it was shiny. You knew better. I've been told.
Bad brain, thought Mrs. Frisby, and then recalled what her husband used to say. The size of the brain is no measure of its capacity. And as well as she might recall it, for the crow's head was double the size of her own.
Sit quietly.
She said,
Look towards the house and see if you can see the house. I don't see him, but I can't see behind the bushes. Oh, if only I could fly higher. Don't.
said Mrs. Frisby. She looked at the sun. It was setting behind the trees. She thought of Timothy and of the medicine she was carrying. Yet she knew she could not leave the foolish crow there to be killed, and killed he surely would be before sunrise, just for want of a few minutes' work. She might still make it by dusk if she hurried.
Come down here.
She said.
I'll get the string off. How?
said the crow to Bruce Lee.
Don't argue. I only have a few minutes.
She said this in a voice so authoritative that the crow fluttered down immediately.
But if the cat comes, he'll knock you off the fence with one jump and catch you with the next. Be still.
She was already at work with the sharp teeth, gnawing at the string. It was twined and twisted and twined again with the right ankle, and saw she would have to cut through it 3 times to get it off.
As she finished the second strand, the crow, who was staring toward the house, suddenly cried out,
I see the cat. Quiet.
This is the cat. That's the cat. Out.
Alright, I got that. Here.
Whispered Mrs. Frisby.
Does he see us? I don't know. Yes, he's looking at me. I don't think he can see you. Stand perfectly still. Don't get in a panic.
She did not look up, but started on the third strand.
He's moving this way. Fast or slow? Medium. I think he's trying to figure out what I'm doing.
She cut through the last strand, gave a tug, and the string fell off.
There. You're free. Fly off. But what about you? Maybe he hasn't seen me. But he will. He's coming closer.
Mrs. Frisby looked around. There was not a bit of cover anywhere near, not a lock, nor a hole, nor a log. Nothing at all closer than the chicken yard, and that was the direction that the cat was coming from, and a long way off.
Look, said the crow.
I'm on my back. Quick, hang on.
Mrs. Frisby did what she was told, first grasping the precious packages of medicine tightly between her teeth.
Are you on? Yes.
She gripped the feathers on his back, felt the beat of his powerful black wings, and felt a dizzying upward surge, and shut her eyes tight.
Just in time.
Said the crow, and as she heard the angry scream of the cat, as she leaped at where they had just been.
Look that you're so light. It scarcely tell you're there.
Lucky indeed, thought Mrs. Frisby. If it had not been for your foolishness, I'd never have gotten into such a scrape. However, she thought it was not wise to say so, under the circumstances.
Where do you live?
Asked the crow.
In the garden patch, near the big stove. I'll drop you off there.
He banked alarmingly, and for a moment Mrs. Frisby thought he meant it literally. But a few seconds later, so fast does the crow fly, they glided to an earthyard from the front door.
Thank you very much.
Said Mrs. Frisby, hopping to the ground.
It's I who should be thanking you.
Said the crow.
You saved my life. And you mine. Ah, but it's not quite even. Yours wouldn't have been risked if it had not been for me being a piece of string.
And since this was just she had been thinking, Mrs. Frisby did not argue.
We all guard one another against the cat.
She said.
True, just the same. I am in debt with you. I hope you will ask me. My name is Jeremy. Mention it to any crow you see in the woods, and he will find me. Thank you.
Said Mrs. Frisby.
I will remember.
Jeremy flew away to the woods and she entered her house, taking 3 doses of medicine with her.